As well, NFL storylines all over the place. Our NFL expert is former LSU All-American first-round pick, and now on ESPN's coverage of the National Football League is Booger McFarland, joining us back here on Off the Bench. Remember, his conversation here on ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria is brought to you by Central Plumbing Company. Good morning, Boog. Good to catch up with you. How are you?
Top of the morning, guys. What's happening?
Doing all good, man.
What's up, dude? I missed you, man. How's it been? You miss me?
Well, I'm not going to answer that because my mother said if you don't have anything good to say, don't say anything at all.
Well, I'm going to take your silence as a silent affirmation that you miss me. So that means a lot, and I love you too, and I hope to see you soon.
Winsboro's finest.
By the way, T-Bob, since you brought it up, how's the weight now?
Okay, off
the top,
we're not taking any questions right now. My client, it's been a weird off season, Corona, kids. There's a lot going on. Maybe I've fallen off the Peloton lifestyle a little bit, but we don't need to worry about all that.
A little bit.
Hey, but Boog, football's happening now. How about Joe Burrow, $36 million guaranteed?
Yeah, I mean, he deserved every penny of it, and I think he got a record 23 of it up front. So
yeah,
I'm pretty sure everyone at LSU is going to be calling Joe Burrow.
Yes,
for
it's already started.
No, absolutely. Trust me, I already know that. But well deserved.
Oh, Boog, you're on Monday Night Football now.
Well, all of that money, you know how that goes.
Yeah, exactly.
Well deserved. Joe deserved all of it. He put in an outstanding season last year, and now for him is, can you take what you learned from Joe Brady and Steve Ensminger to the next level and get with Zach Taylor and hopefully have some success? There's always going to be growing pains as a rookie, but I think the NFL now is set up more for success for young people than it was 20 years ago when I played. So I think the sky's the limit for Joe, and I look forward to watching him play.
What do you think a realistic expectation for year one is? Because Bill Polian was talking yesterday, and he was a little down on Burrow's chances to have success in year one because he hasn't been able to do OTAs and get with the team and all of these other things. Like, you're an NFL mind. What do you think Joe needs to do this year?
Well, Joe's got to play. The only way you get experience is get out on the field and play. T-Bob, you can sit in your basement or wherever and stare in the mirror and talk like you're on the radio, but the only way you get live reps is to get on the radio and say some of the things that you say, and then people call and complain, and then you learn from it. So it's the same way with Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow's got to play. He's got to make mistakes. But here's where the game is different. If you go back 20 years ago, when Peyton Manning was a rookie with Bill Polian, the game was a lot more bunched in, meaning the formations were tighter, and the Indianapolis Colts were trying to open the offense up. So they didn't really understand, or they were trying to figure out how you play offense in an NFL where the game was so tight. Now, if you look at offenses, the game is wide open. I mean, You got Arizona and Kyler Murray. You got the Chiefs. Like, everybody's throwing the football. People look at the 49ers like they're a dinosaur because they still run the ball in Baltimore. But I think if you look at what Joe Brady did last year at LSU, what did they do? They spread the field. They opened the game up. So what does that do for a quarterback? It makes the game easier, and he can identify and see more. And if you understand what Cincinnati does, Cincinnati is basically a carbon copy of what the Rams were a couple years ago. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a lot of outside zone, screen passes, waggles, boots. They're going to use some of Joe Burrow's athleticism. So if you really want to get a picture of what the Cincinnati Bengals offense is going to look like, go back 2 years ago and watch Todd Gurley, Jared Goff, and what Sean McVay did. They're going to try to implement some of the same things because that's where Zach Taylor came from, the Sean McVay coaching tree.
One player, two questions. Jamal Adams traded from New York. Your thoughts on that? And then Seattle's coming out and saying that they're not yet ready to financially commit to him long term, and they're going to wait a year.
Well, I'll answer the latter first.
Okay.
Anytime you trade 2 first-round picks for a player, it doesn't matter if you commit to him today, tomorrow, or a year from now. You don't trade away 2 first-round picks without having in mind that you are going to pay the guy. So if I'm Jamal Adams, if I'm his agent, I'm like, okay, we can do this next year, but at some point you got to pay the piper based on what you invested in me to get me. So he's going to get paid. It's just a matter of kind of doing things the right way. If you're Seattle, you don't want to set a precedent of trading for a guy and paying a guy before he ever comes in the building, before he ever meets the janitor, before he ever has lunch in the building. And so Seattle is doing things the right way. That way they won't upset the apple cart of their other players. Hey, let's see this guy in our building. Let's see how he gets along, and all those things. As far as Jamal Adams, a football player, I was describing this to a good buddy of mine. He's like, Jamal is just different. I said he's different because it's a new age player. All these new age guys that have been born in the 2000s or the late 90s or 2000s, it's all about social media. It's all about my brand. It's all about selfies. It's all about Instagram. And I get it. That's not the era I came up in, but it's the era that these guys live in. Now, as far as Jamal Adams, a football player, he has the mentality that you want of Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees. He's going to be the first in, the last out. He's one of the hardest workers that I've ever seen. He's got tremendous football character. He is everything you want in a football player, a leader, and he's going to do an outstanding job fitting in with Seattle, both in their culture and also as far as a player in their scheme. You just got to deal with this new age player, T-Bob. I mean, everybody wants to take a picture of everything they eat and post it on social media. Everybody wants to take a picture of every piece of clothing that they wear and put it on social media. Now, you couldn't do that because you'd be afraid of what we might see, but it's just this new age player.
Boog, you should start doing that, dude. I'd be fascinated to see everything that you're eating. What does this do for the Seahawks in terms of where they rank in the NFC? Because now you look, between Russell Wilson, Bobby Wagner, Jamal Adams, you're talking about three legitimate all-pro superstars.
They are, I think, a tick above where they were. If you look at Seattle the last 5 years, it's a perennial playoff team. Russell Wilson's not going to let them miss the playoffs.
Yeah.
What I think this does, T-Bob, is it gives them a chance to win their division, and this combats what the Rams did and what the 49ers do. And what do I mean by that? They're going to run the football. You got to have a safety that's going to be a playmaker that can cover tight ends. So to me, this is a direct move at how do we defeat the 49ers and how do we make sure we defeat the 49ers. Oh, by the way, we beat them once last year at their place and probably should have beat them the other time at our place. But Jamal Adams can cover George Kittle. He can come down in the box and help with this run game. He can blitz and get after Jimmy Garoppolo. So I think this is a fantastic move. But long-winded way to answer your question, Seattle was already at the top of the list of contenders with New Orleans and Minnesota and San Francisco and Philadelphia and teams of that ilk. Like, they're going to be right there. This improves their defense a little bit. And so I think if you're John Snyder, who's the GM, I think this was a good move. And ultimately, I think it's a move that's going to really pay off big dividends for the Seahawks.
Kansas City has committed $500 million to Mahomes over the next decade. Did Patrick leave money on the table?
Well, I think that's easy to say based on the structure of the contract. What I think Mahomes did, man, is he realizes this, and I think he's in a unique position. Patrick Mahomes probably makes, I don't know, $10 to $15 million a year off the field if he's got a marketing agent worth a grain of salt.
Yeah.
So he said, you know what? At what point is enough is enough? I mean, am I just getting more money to make myself feel good when I look at my bank account, or am I getting more money for a purpose? And I know it sounds crazy to a lot of people, but every $500 million deal is not the same, because in the NFL, the money's not guaranteed. This is basically two deals in one. It's a 7-year deal for about $186 million, and then it's another 5-year deal. It's a 7-year deal for about $200 million, and then it's another 5-year deal for another $450 million on the back end. And I think when you look at it that way, it makes a lot more sense. He loves Andy Reid. I think he's got to come to grips that at some point toward the end of his career, he's probably going to play for a new coach. That'll affect him. I think the biggest thing this deal does, Jordy, is now if you're Patrick Mahomes, you go to sleep every night with the security knowing that you're taken care of if you perform. Yeah. Now, Dak Prescott can't say that. And to me, that's something that each player has to be willing to live with, because Dak signed the franchise tag. So he's got 1 year. And we all know, if we think back pre-coronavirus, back in January, what our life was like then as opposed to what it's like now, a lot can change in a year. So I think that's the biggest thing this deal does for Mahomes. He can sleep at night knowing that, you know what, life is pretty good. I don't have to worry about security. T-Bob, very much the way that I sleep at night after leaving walk-ons with that Krispy Kreme bread pudding. My goodness, how good is that?
It was good to see you walk-ons over there in Central Florida. I got one more for you on the way out. You are considered one of the faces of LSU in the NFL. I look down the NFL 100 list, and there are Tigers everywhere. Landry, Beckham, Matthew, Trey White, Daniil Hunter. I do not see Patrick Peterson. What is the feeling around Peterson going into this year? Because if you see him on social media, he looks very motivated.
Well, I'm going to just echo what he's saying. This is a revenge season. You know, oftentimes when you've seen something a couple of times, you become less enamored with it. Remember when Russell Westbrook averaged a triple-double?
Yeah.
Hell, that's all we talked about every day. Well, guess what? He averaged a triple-double the next 2 years, and nobody talked about it. It's amazing when you see something over and over, you become less enamored with it. And I think we've seen excellence from Patrick Peterson for a long, long time. And I think we've just become less enamored with it. But I think he's on a mission. He looks like he's in great shape. The older he's gotten, he's lost a little weight, T-Bob, and he's making life a lot easier on himself. And I think he's going to have one of the good seasons, one of the great seasons in the NFL. What's funny, T-Bob?
That was such an excellent, passive-aggressive jab there.
He just feels good.
He's making life a lot easier on himself. Like, it's not even that direct.
Listen, big guy.
His knees feel good.
On this journey. You and I have been doing this for a couple years.
That's true.
I've seen you go from posting. I mean, you were posting salads on social media at one point, and then the very next. Hey, listen, the very next post, you're posting like fried fish and French fries.
Yeah.
So at some point, we have to find consistency in our life. And I'm just here to help you, big guy.
That is Winsboro's finest and a part of ESPN's National Football League coverage. He does look great.
And he's a beast on the Peloton.
He's great. Thank you, as always, for the information. We'll catch up soon.
Anytime. T-Bob, you know I love you, man. Hopefully the new addition to the family is doing well, buddy.
Thank you, man. Love you too, Boog.
There he is, Boog, checking in this morning. Central Plumbing